Welcome to Kongs R Us. We're playing Star Wars Starfighter on a PS2 on Arcade 1-Up. I'm gonna show you a full tutorial right now. Hey, this is Kongs R Us, and this is my official LaunchBox tutorial on how to set up a custom playlist for your Star Wars Arcade 1-Up mod. So here's my version of LaunchBox that I have set up with my Star Wars playlist here, in addition to several other custom playlists that I've created for shooters, racers, and flying games. So this is what I did to set up everything, and I have a beautiful front end using the premium version of LaunchBox called BigBox. But before I jump into my reasoning of why I use LaunchBox, let's take a look at some of the other front ends available on PCs. Let's take a look at 4 different front ends you can use on your PC. On the top left is my custom LaunchBox BigBox build. On the top right is a custom HyperSpin build. Bottom left is a CoinOps Next build, and the bottom right is a CoinOps Arcadia build. This is a custom 3TB HyperSpin build that was sent to me by one of the master kings of HyperSpin, Kwok Lee. He put this together, and HyperSpin demonstrates that it's a beautiful front end that combines multiple arcade, console systems, PC into one beautiful front end with the wheel, snaps, videos, images. It's a really great multi-cade system that works with an Xbox 360 controller. So if you're looking for an all-in-one Encompass build, I really highly recommend Kwok Lee and going with HyperSpin if you want a multi-cade. Both CoinOps Next and CoinOps Arcadia have a similar look and feel to them, where CoinOps Next also includes console gaming. Arcadia focuses mostly on arcade games. They're both beautiful front ends with wheel snap images and videos for the different arcade games and playlists. They're both easy to use with a controller and or arcade button set. Both CoinOps are great multi-cade systems that come with pre-built images and add-on packs that you can continue to expand your collection. So back to my version of LaunchBox, and I chose LaunchBox because it was the easiest interface to use to create a customized playlist specifically for this Star Wars Arcade 1-Up mod with all these Star Wars games, the shooting games, the racing games, and flying games that I wanted to have. I didn't need the multi-cade system with thousands of games on this particular mod, and the interface for the other systems like HyperSpin and CoinOps was a little bit more for me to handle customizing it down from what it was when I downloaded them. From here, I was able to start from scratch, download every single game and port them over and get it into this back-end system interface, and then have a beautiful front end through BigBox to navigate through my arcade control panel. Another reason why I love LaunchBox was that as a collector of these games, as I got them each into my playlist system, I was able to use the LaunchBox metadata to learn more about these games, get all this information, and through a partner site called EmuMovies, grab all these images, video snaps of the game itself. Plus, check this out, I can see all the flyers, information of old cockpit builds. I know people are really interested in building one of these cockpits too. So this is just a great digital collection of information about these games that you can have as you go through each of these games, see what images were available through EmuMovies and LaunchBox, and be able to see more about these games. So I love this feature of LaunchBox to have a nice digital collection of all the information about these games at my disposal. Now let's build our own version of LaunchBox. Start off by going to launchbox-app.com to get the latest version of LaunchBox. Click on the download button, enter your email address, and hit the download button here. You'll get a link in your email address to be able to download the installation file. Once you do, you'll see your downloads folder like this. Double click on it to get started. Click OK, accept the agreement, and next. Here you're going to select where you're going to install your main LaunchBox folder. So for this tutorial, I'm just going to put it on my desktop, but you have the option of putting it on a secondary drive. It even mentions you can put it on the cloud on a Dropbox, Google Drive, or OneDrive as well. Click next, and then you're going to start up the download and the installation as well. Once you finish installation, you'll see this welcome message pop up and the free version of LaunchBox pop up in your background. So go ahead and click on this and you can close it. But before I do, there's a ton of great information on the LaunchBox site, tutorials to learn how to import everything that you need, a great community with forums as well. But LaunchBox Premium is something that you might want to look into. So to use the attractive front end that you saw in my earlier video, you do need the LaunchBox Premium version that includes BigBox. So what is it? It's actually a $30 one-time regular license fee that actually is good for 1 year to be able to get any updates that happen within that year, but you can use it forever. So as long as you have this license one time, you can use whatever version of LaunchBox you have at that time forever. If you want the forever license, updates license, it's $75. And this, anytime LaunchBox comes out with the new version with updates and features, then you can update it at any time that you need to. So that's just another option for you to check out. I have the forever license update because I really like the way the platform works. So this is up to you and what you want to get. One last note about premium services. This is EmuMovies, the partner site to LaunchBox that houses many of the media for arcades, consoles, computer PCs, and is connected to the LaunchBox database. This does require an actual donation to use these services. They have a monthly fee, a yearly fee, and a lifetime supporter fee for $60. The good news is that if you got a LaunchBox premium license, they give you a 25% off code to be able to purchase any of these different donation options here. So if you like the collection aspect of your digital games, this is worth it, but this is completely optional. It is not mandatory to be able to use LaunchBox or BigBox. It's just to get the images, and it's a little bit easier than Googling for images for your games. So we're back in our LaunchBox app, and this is the interface you're going to use to import all of your games as well as your emulators in one easy to use interface before you jump into your front end BigBox. So before we do that, let's look at the directory first. So when you install your LaunchBox folder here, you're going to see this folders as well as the applications for BigBox and LaunchBox. Go ahead and create a new folder called emulators first, and then another folder called games. So as you import games and emulators, having them here in your file makes this whole thing portable. So you can move this entire LaunchBox folder to another drive. You can use it in a secondary drive. So this is a great way to make everything accessible in one place. Now we're ready to add games to our LaunchBox. So I have a sample game here, Star Wars Starfighter on the PlayStation 2 and the emulator PCS X2 1.4. So thanks to Quackly, I was able to get this additional ROM and emulator set up to be able to add to my Star Wars playlist, and wanted to use this as a tutorial as well to add it to my list. So the first thing I'm going to do is open my LaunchBox folder again, go into my emulators folder, and drag this whole PCS X2 folder into my emulators folder. So now that it's housed here, we can go ahead and import the game. So click on Tools, Import, ROM Files. Click on the next as you get the wizard open, Add Files, go to your desktop or wherever you have your games, click on the individual game that you want to add. You could also do this as a folder if you have a folder of games as well. Keep them in the same platform though, because the next step you're going to add which platform these games belong to. So if you start typing in Sony, you can get to the list here and then see a drop down menu of all the different platforms here. This is a PlayStation 2 game. We're going to click Next. From here, it's going to ask you to choose an emulator. So we don't have any set up yet in the system, but click on Add. It'll pre-populate some of the recommended emulators here, and you can click on this to download it. Since I already have it downloaded, I just need to point to the application file here. So I'm going to go to Browse, Desktop, my LaunchBox folder, Emulators, PCSX2, and then the actual app to get it started. So some of these settings are already preset up based on the actual emulator recommendation. Click OK, and we're good to go. Click on Next, and then here you'll have options to copy these files to my LaunchBox Games folder or move the files. So since we already have it on my desktop, I'm going to move this to my LaunchBox Games file, and then it's going to ask to search for this in the LaunchBox Games database. Click on Next. You'll see everything here checked off already, but yes, you want to look for these games. On the next tab is where you're going to configure your login for EmuMovies. So if you have a login credential, go ahead and click on Configure Movies. You can add in your user ID and password. So I added my credentials and hit Test to make sure I was logged into EmuMovies. Click on OK, and it's going to load and parse the movie files and media files from EmuMovies. Here, you'll see all the different options of media types you can download from EmuMovies. The best thing about it is that they have HD video snapshots that you can grab for these games as well. Go ahead and leave everything checked, click on the Next button. Here, you'll see other options. You don't really have to click any of these options. You can go ahead and just click on Next. And you'll see the file that it's going to import. Click on Finish. And now it's going to search the game's database as well as from EmuMovies and pull all the media files into our LaunchBox build. Now that the game was imported, you'll see the screen here and the files that were downloaded here. So you have different images you can see on your list here. So this is the box, You can do a 3D box if it was downloaded, a clear logo for everything as well. So depending on what you want, in my video, I had everything imaged by clear logos. So you'll see information from the game's database here on your right hand side, as well as some of the screenshots and art that was downloaded from the media. If you want to see more details about it, right click on the edit button. You can see the path where everything is set up, as well as the different types of art that are available for this game. Now that we have our game imported, double click on the actual game itself and it'll try to launch the game in the emulator, but since it's the first time we're using PCSX2, we have to configure it first. Depending on where you got your emulator downloaded from, it may look a little bit different in terms of configuration. I'm going to show you what mine looks like. Click on Next, and I'm going to overwrite my settings here. And this is the plugin information of where the files were in my LaunchBox emulator folder. Click Next. And the thing about the PCSX2 is that you need a working BIOS ROM from a PlayStation 2 to get it working. So I already have the BIOS in my emulators folder, so I'm going to click Browse, go to my desktop, LaunchBox, Emulators, PCSX2, BIOS, and select this folder. From here, you'll see the BIOS to select, click Finish, and once it's get loaded, if everything works, you should be able to see the game starting to load. So great, we got the game loaded, but we can't play it because the controls aren't configured. Hit Escape back into your main menu, and then right click the menu, go back to Open PCSX2, and now we're going to configure this with your Star Wars yoke. Head on over to the Config menu, click on Controllers, and then Plugin Settings. And here you'll see a sample version of my Star Wars modded yoke that I have set up on my desktop to get everything set up, and then I'm going to install this in my cab later. So here, click on Pad 1, and you'll see that there's a blank list of controls here that we can click on a button, and as long as your USB controller is plugged into your PC and it reads, you should be able to click on a button like this, and then push one of the buttons on your yoke, and it should read it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up. So my cross is going to be my trigger button here. My circle button is going to be this top button here. I'm going to set square to this left button, triangle to this button here, and then R2 as my left bottom trigger, and L2 as my top left button. Start is this button here on the top left, and select on the top right. Lastly, we need to map our actual analog stick. So the left analog stick, I'm going to map the yoke to the up here, the down as my down here, my left going to the left, and the right going to the right. Now depending on the game, you might need to inverse some of these things, but this is the settings for Star Wars Starfighter. So we finished mapping all the controls, and the reason why I set up these controls were I looked up the controller configurations, if finding a manual online, or if not a manual, GameFAQs actually has the buttons listed here. So X is my fire primary weapon, square and triangle are targeting, circle is fire, and then the R2 and L2 are the boost and brake. So on the yoke itself, you have to be able to make a decision if you're playing a console game, which of these buttons you're going to use to be able to fly your craft or actually play the game. There's only 8 buttons here, and 4 of them are accessible on the yoke. So having this as my fire trigger secondary weapon, and then this is my boost, is going to allow me to control the ship very well. And targeting is just a secondary different option here. This is a view change button. So that's how I set up my yoke. You should be able to do this for each of the games that you do. Make sure that it's optimized to work with your yoke. I'm going to make one last change and change my R3 button to this button here, because this is what's going to be able to move it back to normal. You'll see in a second. So click apply, hit OK, and then the last thing to do is close this out, and we can launch our game, Star Wars Starfighter. Everything should load up beautifully in the emulator itself. So I'm super excited to be able to play this game on the Star Wars Arcade 1-Up using this yoke here. It should be super fun. I'm going to be able to map everything out, get my controls going soon in just a second. Here it is. So Star Wars Starfighter, here's the yoke. I have my buttons mapped out. This is my start button, so we'll just go ahead and get started, push through so we can get this gameplay going. It's going to ask you if you want to start up a memory card, so we're just going to push the X button, which is our bottom trigger here. Just proceed through everything, push play, and let's get it started. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, you guys know the rest. Boom! Star Wars Starfighter on your Star Wars Arcade 1-Up through LaunchBox, BigBox. It's going to be super fun to test out on the yoke. Let's go ahead and make sure we test out the controls with everything. So we're going to push the start button, get it going. Alright, so hit X to continue. And here we go. Let's make sure our yoke works. Let's push the start button. So we got up, down, left, right. shooting trigger, boost, brake, and this select button I made into this so you can see the vehicle a little bit more. I like this mode a little bit better, so I just got to get used to flying this controls. But this should be pretty fun to follow. Let's see if we can boost and follow and catch up. Alright, we're gonna start shooting some mines here. We got our triggers working. There we go. So that's the target. I have my bottom trigger as my main gun. And this is my boost. This is my brake. Boom, boom, boom. 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 Let's get these mines. Alright, so the controls for the game are super fun. I had a really good time with this. I'm going to keep playing the rest of the stage so you guys can see the gameplay for it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this LaunchBox tutorial. This was just my initial setup tutorial for getting LaunchBox up and running with a singular game. I'll have some more emulation video tutorials on more configurations for specific games, as well as how to set up this in BigBox and some of the wheel snaps that I did so you can get everything beautiful for your own collection. Hope you guys enjoyed the rest of this gameplay video.
Vary your speed using boost and brake. You got all of them! Your next exercise is a combat droid, equipped with training lasers. Well done. Now for the holographic simulation.
Let's hunt that fighter down.
Nice shot. There's another one. Use your boost to chase it down. Use those brakes, Dallows. Good shooting, Bravo 10. Let's get to the next arena. Keep your distance, Bravo 10. The next two waves will simulate a Starfighter attack. Nice shot, Dallows. That's the last of the holograms. I'll race you to the next arena.
You're on.
Go!
How fast can this thing go, Wrench?
Here comes the straightaway. Yeah!
I want a rematch.
Maybe some other time, rookie. It's not over yet, Dallows. Now you fight me. First one to take out the other's shields wins. Good luck, Dallows.
Wrench, reset my shield displays to full strength.
Go! You beat me. Where'd you learn to fly like that?
It's all in the book.
Well done, Reese.
Thanks, Bravo 7.
You can call me Asara.
So I made it?
Yep. Besides, I need a good partner for the Royal Escort.